Welcome to London.
What?
Welcome to London.
Okay, doesn't look like London. In fact, I'm pretty sure we're in Buckinghamshire.
There's loads of different ways that you can define London. You can use London boroughs, you can use within inside the M25, you can use postcodes.
This is true, but let's not forget you're in this video, clearly. So I'm guessing it's got something to do with railways.
Today, I'm going to show you around this area and tell you a tale of how, for 45 years, this rural area in the middle of nowhere was the very, very end of the London transport network. Inside the M20 cough.
The coming of the railways and the dramatic change it brought the country's economics and the landscape have long fascinated me. The UK railways growth were by and large not hugely regulated. Parliamentary approval was easy to come by if you had the money and a bit of influence, and so we see a monumental change in the landscape seemingly overnight. If you had the cash and the motive, the railways were truly your golden ticket.
The railways first came to Buckinghamshire in 1838 when the London to Birmingham Railway opened on the very eastern side of the county. And just 1 year later, Stephenson oversaw the construction of a branch line which ran from Cheddington on the London to Birmingham to the market town of Aylesbury.
Now it's also worth mentioning at this stage our friend Isambard Kingdom Brunel, because 1841 he has finally completed the boring of the Box Tunnel. The merchants of Bristol and London now have access to this line and trade slides through the southern part of Britain and Buckinghamshire.
And that was it. The rest of the county remained pretty unconnected. In this area here, a businessman had an idea that would change not only the railway map of Buckinghamshire, but the London Underground map for the next nearly 100 years. The villages and the fields in this area, they're not that much different to they were in the early 1800s when a young man called Harry Calvert inherited a nearby estate from his cousin. He changed his name to Harry Verney and he became a baronet. Harry Verney was a politician. He was an advocate of the early railways because he could see the potential that bringing people to this area would have in terms of businesses and prosperity. But like it is today, this area was kind of it. There was just a few houses over there. Didn't even have a name. So this is Claydon Estate. This is where Sir Harry Verney lived. This is the house that he inherited from his cousin. And it was here in 1860 that he finally got his backing to enable a line to be opened south from Verney Junction to Aylesbury. The absolutely fantastically named, 1 minute, Richard Plantagenet Campbell, Temple Nugent Bridges, Chandos Granville, the 3rd Duke of Buckingham and Chandos, became chairman of the Buckingham and Aylesbury Railway. The Duke spent his time between Stowe, which was an even bigger and even grander house than this, and about 2 miles north of Buckingham, and he also had a home in central London. But the idea of being able to have direct rail services from your grand country estate into central London was the ultimate show of wealth, the ultimate show of grand stature. The Duke was also a really shrewd businessman, and he could see the idea that having those direct services into London from his home would provide better business opportunities on his lands and in his estate.
His deputy at the Aylesbury and Buckingham was, of course, Sir Harry Verney. Verney, along with other local financiers, had convinced the Duke of the grand ideas to create new communities out in the land around the Claydon estate, and this convinced the Duke to financially back them.
When Harry Verney decided to build his station here, he named this area Verney Junction after himself. But what this area had was the prime opportunity to create one line from east to west and one line from north to south, with a meeting and intersecting here.
The company obtained Acts of Parliament with many plans: Aylesbury to Banbury, Aylesbury to Tring, Aylesbury to Harrow, Bletchley to Oxford, crossing here in the middle of Clayton. Money was clearly a problem though. This is a lot of mileage. Sir Harry dropped the plan for Aylesbury to Harrow. Now, he was aware that he would need an operator for the line, so he jumped into bed with London North Western Railway. Now, GWR and the LNER were of course rivals, so GWR made great haste in stopping good Sir Harry's plans in Parliament. Sir Harry, though, he was made of tough stuff and knew it was just a matter of time. He was rewarded in 1850 with his Bletchley to Banbury and Bletchley to Yarnbury lines. Sir Harry wanted more though. Acts of Parliament had been obtained for the fourth arm of this Verney Cross down to Aylesbury, but London North Western Railway suggested they already had links there. Why bother operating in a town already served? Well, this frustrated Harry somewhat. A man with money and influence, very much used to getting exactly what he wanted. The 23rd of September 1868, and he did indeed get his way. The missing link was connected down to Aylesbury from Verney Junction.
And people could connect from there, from Aylesbury, from Buckingham, from Banbury and from Bletchley, along those 4 lines that met here in the absolute middle of nowhere. But from the outset there were already issues. Within a year of the railway being granted their Act of Parliament in order to operate, the Duke had resigned from the London North Western Railway, and as such they withdrew their willingness to operate services.
So those great railway rivals step in from GWR. The line opens in 1868, however, it's never really well used. The area around Verney Junction remained rural. But how did this tiny line become part of the London Underground network, as we implied at the start of the video? Back in the 1800s, of course, we know there was no transport for London, it didn't exist. Each of the lines traversing the city was independently owned. The Metropolitan Railway had been the very first. Their services ran from 1863, and by the late 1800s they'd expanded several times into the northwest of London.
One of the Duke's big plans was for Buckingham to become a centre of railway engineering. However, that never came to fruition because the LNWR chose to open their carriage works at Wolverton, which is now Milton Keynes. From the outset, the shareholders of the Aylesbury and Buckingham Railway expressed a desire to go from Aylesbury into London because obviously that was what they wanted. However, the authorities in London, namely from the London and North Western Railway, objected to this because they already had their line, the London to Birmingham, that already ran through Buckinghamshire and naturally didn't want the competition.
Eventually the Aylesbury and Buckingham persuaded Sir Miles Fenton to join the board. Now Sir Miles was the general manager of the Metropolitan Railway, who was already in the early phases of what would become Metroland, the Metroland project, and they could see the potential in replicating this idea out in rural Buckinghamshire. We have a plan.
Another backer of the scheme was Baron Ferdinand de Rothschild. He was the owner of Waddesdon Manor. Not only did the proposed direct link to London improve the availability for goods to be delivered to his estate at Waddesdon, but having a station with a direct link to London, like the Duke of Buckingham and Harry Verney, was obviously the ultimate status symbol.
But it wasn't just status and stature that added to the allure of connecting a railway from Baker Street to Verney Junction. From there, trains could potentially run onto the Varsity line and link the major cities of northern England. The Metropolitan Railway bought the Aylesbury and Buckingham on the 1st of January 1897, and direct services ran from Baker Street to Verney Junction. The Metropolitan also took over the Brunel Tramway in 1899.
Unfortunately, neither the Duke of Buckingham nor Sir Harry Verney got to see their dream of direct trains on the Aylesbury and Buckingham Railway come to fruition. The Duke of Buckingham died in 1889 and Harry Verney passed away in 1894.
The Metropolitan service ran for many years without incident. The length of the journey, some 56 miles from central London, allowed for premium services. Unfortunately though, the line remained underused, and the planned development around Verney Junction nor the expansion of the railway network never happened. Okay, so what's next? Because at Verney Junction, well, we seem to have a very new looking railway. What exactly is going on there?
After services were cut back as far as Quainton Road in 1933, Verney Junction remained open as a station, but only on the east-west line from Bletchley to Bicester. However, that line was closed under Beachfront. But here we stand in 2024, and that line is back. As we saw at Verney Junction, east-west rail now follows the track of that old line, And from next year, rail services will run once more from Oxford to Cambridge through Verney Junction. However, there is no plans to open a station there purely because of how rural it is. In 1947, all services north of Aylesbury were axed completely. The line remained in situ and is still here until today. It has been used for freight. There have been specials up to the railway centre at Quainton. However, in 2008, a small part of this line reopened. Some of Harry Verney's legacy about creating communities out in rural Buckinghamshire began to appear. New housing estates were built north of Aylesbury, and to connect them into London, the Aylesbury Vale Parkway station was opened. This station has one train an hour now, running direct from here into London Marylebone. And interestingly, there is this idea that maybe eventually this will reconnect back up with East West Rail, which surely would still use this existing line that's here that runs along the old A and B railway.
Hi.
Hi.
Thanks for doing that. I've had like a week off, which has been a joy of like research and all that kind of stuff.
No, I really enjoyed it. It's really good fun.
Good. Now for you guys at home, if you like this kind of content, Kate's got a YouTube channel. No content just yet, but there will be very soon, right?
I hope so. Yeah, fingers crossed.
So go and subscribe to that. In the meantime, thanks for watching. See you this time next week.